You have spent years running from the sound of your own heartbeat. Tonight, in this gentle darkness, you finally stop to listen. The rhythm carries secrets your mind has forgotten, but your soul remembers. There is something sacred about the quiet hours when the world sleeps and only truth remains awake. You find yourself here, not by accident, but by an ancient calling that whispers through your bones. Your restless spirit has brought you to this threshold where healing begins, not with answers, but with the courage to feel what you have buried. The weight you carry is not yours alone. It belongs to generations of hearts that learn to hide their tenderness behind walls of steel and silence. You inherited this fortress stone by stone without knowing you were building your own prison. Tonight, you begin to remember that the same hands that built these walls can learn to take them down. Every night, your dreams try to tell you what daylight refuses to hear. They speak in symbols, older than language, painting pictures your rational mind dismisses as nonsense. But what if these nocturnal visitors carry the keys to rooms in your heart you sealed long ago? What if the monsters that chase you through sleep are actually the guardians of your most precious treasures? You have been taught to hide your sadness behind silence, to bury your rage beneath politeness, to suffocate your wild joy under the weight of others' expectations. Each buried emotion becomes a ghost that haunts the corridors of your inner world, rattling chains you pretend not to hear. During your busy days, the child you once were still lives in the secret chambers of your heart. This child remembers wonder, remembers the magic that adults explained away with logic and reason. This child holds the memory of who you were before the world taught you who you should be. Tonight, you might hear their whisper calling your name from behind the locked doors of your own forgetting. There is a place inside you that was never wounded, never diminished, never lost. It exists beyond the reach of criticism, beyond the touch of shame, beyond the grasp of fear. This place is your true home, and the journey back to it begins with a single step into the darkness you have been avoiding. You were not broken by what happened to you. You were shaped by it, carved like a sculpture from stone. Each strike of the chisel revealing more of your authentic form. The parts of you that hurt are not flaws to be fixed, but depths to be honored, wounds that became the birthplace of your compassion, the mask you wear so perfectly that you have forgotten it is not your Face weighs heavy tonight. You feel the strain in your jaw from holding the smile that doesn't reach your eyes, the ache in your shoulders from carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. What would happen if you set it down just for tonight, just for this moment between sleeping and waking? Your shadow follows you everywhere, growing longer in the twilight hours when defenses soften and truth seeps through the cracks. This dark companion is not your enemy, but your teacher, showing you the pieces of yourself you gave away to be loved, to be accepted, to belong. Every disowned part of your nature that you see reflected in others' faces is calling to come home. The night holds space for all of you, the parts you celebrate and the parts you hide, the aspects you embrace and the pieces you exile. In darkness, contradictions can coexist without explanation. You can be both strong and fragile, wise and foolish, loving and afraid, all at once, all as part of the magnificent complexity of being human. There are stories written in your scars, wisdom encoded in your wounds, strength forged in the fires of your deepest struggles. You have been reading these stories backward, seeing only endings where there were meant to be beginnings. Tonight, you begin to turn the pages forward and discover that every chapter of pain was preparing you for this moment of recognition. The loneliness you feel is not because you are unlovable, but because you have forgotten how to love the one person who matters most, the one looking back at you from mirrors and puddles and windows at night. You have been searching for home in other people's hearts while your own sits empty, waiting for its rightful occupant to return. Sleep comes not as escape, but as invitation. In dreams, the rules of waking life dissolve, and your psyche speaks in the ancient language of symbols and metaphors. The houses you wander through in sleep are the rooms of your own mind. The people who appear are facets of your own soul, wearing different faces, showing you aspects of yourself you have yet to recognize or reclaim. You are not who you think you are. You are not the collection of roles you play, the achievements you accumulate, or the mistakes you cannot forget. Beneath all of these temporary identities lies something unchanging, something eternal, something that recognizes itself in the eyes of every living thing and knows without doubt that it belongs here. The healing you seek is not a destination but a remembering. It is not about becoming someone new, but about returning to who you have always been beneath the layers of conditioning and protection. You are not broken and in need of fixing. You are whole and in need of remembering. Tonight, as consciousness softens and the boundaries between inner and outer worlds grow thin. You have the opportunity to meet yourself as if for the first time. Not the self you present to the world, not the self you wish you were, but the self that exists in the quiet spaces between thoughts, in the pause between heartbeats, in the moment before sleep claims you. This is where the journey truly begins, not in the light of understanding, but in the darkness of not knowing, not in the comfort of certainty, but in the tender vulnerability of opening to what is. You have carried yourself this far. Trust that the same presence that brought you here will guide you home. The path inward winds through forests of forgotten dreams and valleys of unspoken griefs. It crosses rivers of unshed tears and climbs mountains built from the sediment of unexpressed emotions. This inner landscape is as real as any geography you have ever traveled, and it requires the same courage to explore. You cannot think your way to wholeness. You cannot reason yourself into peace. You cannot organize your way out of chaos or control your way into love. The mind that created the maze cannot solve it. Only the heart knows the way out, and the heart speaks in whispers that can only be heard in silence. Every person who has ever triggered your anger or jealousy or fear has been a teacher showing you the parts of yourself you have not yet learned to love. They hold up mirrors that reflect back the aspects of your nature you have banished to the basement of consciousness. These emotional reactions are not character flaws, but compass needles pointing toward what needs attention. The relationship you have with yourself is the template for every other relationship in your life. Until you learn to speak kindly to the voice in your head, you will attract people who speak to you the way you speak to yourself. Until you learn to honor your own needs, you will find yourself surrounded by people who ignore them. The outer world is always reflecting the inner world back to you. You didn't come here to live a small life. You came here to taste every flavor of human experience, to feel deeply, to love wildly, to create boldly, to suffer beautifully, and to transform pain into wisdom. The very experiences you have been running from are the raw materials of your awakening. There is a conversation happening in the depths of your being that has been going on since before you were born. It is the dialogue between who you came here to be and who you have learned to become. One voice speaks in the language of truth, the other in the dialect of survival. Tonight, you begin to distinguish between them. Your sensitivity is not a weakness to be overcome, but a gift to be cherished. In a world that has grown thick-skinned and numb. Your ability to feel deeply is a form of sacred activism. Your tears water the seeds of compassion. Your vulnerability creates safe spaces for others to show their truth. Your openness is an act of rebellion against a culture that demands armor. The perfectionist who lives in your head is not your friend. This inner critic disguises itself as motivation, but is actually fear wearing the mask of helpfulness. It promises that if you just try harder, control more, achieve better, you will finally be worthy of love. But love is not earned. Love is your birthright, available to you exactly as you are, in this moment, without improvement or modification. You have been holding your breath for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to truly exhale. Tonight, in the safety of darkness, you can let the air out slowly, completely, releasing not just carbon dioxide, but all the tension you have been carrying in your chest, all the words you never said, all the tears you never cried, the stories you tell yourself about your past are not fixed truths, but interpretations that can be revised. The meaning you made of your experiences when you were young and hurt may no longer serve the person you are becoming. You have the power to rewrite your history, not by changing what happened, but by changing what it means. There is a place in your heart that remains untouched by time, unmarked by trauma, undiminished by disappointment. This is your essential self, your original nature, the part of you that existed before you. Learn to doubt your worth. It has been waiting patiently through all your searching and struggling, knowing that eventually you would remember the way home. The longing you feel is not for something you have lost, but for something you have never truly found. The experience being completely yourself without apology or explanation. This authentic self is not hidden somewhere outside you, waiting to be discovered. It is here, now, in the space between your thoughts, in the pause between your breaths, in the silence between your words. Your wounds are not obstacles to love, but doorways to deeper compassion. Every place you have been broken is a place where light can enter. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every healed hurt becomes a source of wisdom you can offer to others walking similar paths. Your pain is not meaningless. It is the price of admission to the depths of your own humanity. Sleep beckons now, but not as escape from reality, as entry into a deeper reality where the rules of logic dissolve and the language of the soul can finally be heard. In dreams, you can meet the parts of yourself you have disowned, have conversations with your future self, and receive guidance from sources of wisdom that exist beyond the limitations of your waking mind. The night is not empty, but full of a possibility, full of healing, full of the quiet magic that happens when consciousness relaxes its grip and allows the deeper intelligence of the psyche to emerge. In this liminal space between day and night, between sleeping and waking, between knowing and unknowing, transformation becomes possible. You are not alone in this journey. Every person who has ever looked up at the stars and wondered about their place in the universe has walked some version of this path. Every soul who has ever questioned their worth, doubted their purpose, or felt lost in the wilderness of their own heart has been your companion on this road. You are part of an invisible community of seekers and finders, of wounded healers and broken open hearts. The sadness you carry is not a sign that something is wrong with you, but evidence that you have the capacity to love deeply. Grief is love with nowhere to go, and the fact that you can feel it so intensely means you have loved so completely. Do not rush to heal this sadness. Let it teach you what it came to teach. Let it hollow you out so you can hold even more love. Your anger, too, has something to teach you. Beneath the heat of rage often lies a deeper passion for justice, a fierce love for what is being threatened or destroyed. Anger is the guardian emotion, the fire that protects what you value most. Instead of pushing it away, ask it what it is trying to protect. Listen to its wisdom, even as you learn to express it in ways that create rather than destroy. The fear that whispers in your ear is not your enemy, but your protector, trying to keep you safe from a danger that may no longer exist. It learned its vigilance in situations where it was necessary for survival, but now it continues its watch long after the threat has passed. You can thank your fear for its service while gently teaching it that you are safe now, that you can handle whatever comes. There is a quality of attention that heals simply by being present. It does not try to fix or change or improve. It simply witnesses with such complete acceptance that what is being seen feels held in love. You can offer this quality of attention to every part of yourself, the strong parts and the fragile parts, the beautiful parts and the ugly parts, the parts you are proud of and the parts you wish you could hide, the stories your mind tells about why you cannot change, why you are stuck, why healing is impossible for someone like you, are not truth, but habits of thought worn smooth by repetition. Every story can be rewritten. Every belief can be questioned. Every pattern can be interrupted by a single moment of conscious choice to respond differently than you have before. You are not behind in life. You are not too late. You are not too old, too damaged, too set in your ways, too anything to begin again. Every moment offers a fresh start. Every breath is a new beginning. Every heartbeat is a chance to choose love over fear, truth over protection, presence over the endless commentary of the worried mind. The person you are becoming is already alive in you, waiting to be born. This future self is not someone you will become through effort and striving, but someone you will uncover by removing the layers of who you think you should be. The sculptor does not create the statue, but reveals it by chipping away everything that is not essential to its form. In the silence between your thoughts, something vast and peaceful waits to be discovered. This is not emptiness, but fullness. The fullness of being itself, unconditioned by story or identity or role. It is who you are when you stop trying to be anyone in particular, when you rest in the simple fact of your existence without needing to justify or explain or improve it. Your breath carries messages from the deepest parts of your being. When you breathe shallowly, you live on the surface of your experience. When you breathe deeply, you invite yourself into the depths where real transformation happens. Each inhale draws in not just oxygen, but possibility. Each exhale releases not just carbon dioxide, but what no longer serves. The healing you seek may not look like what you expect. It may not arrive as the absence of pain, but as the capacity to hold pain with grace. It may not come as the elimination of problems, but as the wisdom to navigate them with greater skill. It may not manifest as perpetual happiness, but as the ability to be present with whatever arises without losing your center. You have been searching for yourself in all the wrong places, in other people's approval, in external achievements, in future possibilities that always seem just out of reach. But you cannot find yourself outside yourself. You can only come home to who you have always been. Beneath the layers of conditioning and protection and fear, the voice of your authentic self is not loud or demanding. It does not shout over the noise of your busy life or compete with the urgency of your to-do lists. It speaks in whispers and sighs, in sudden moments of clarity, in the quiet knowing that arises when you finally stop talking long enough to listen. Every feeling you have ever felt is valid. Every emotion you have ever experienced deserves acknowledgement. You do not need to understand why you feel what you feel or justify your emotional responses to anyone, including yourself. Feelings are information, not verdicts. They arise to tell you something about your experience, not to define your worth or determine your future. The relationship between your conscious mind and your unconscious depths is like the relationship between a small boat and the vast ocean on which it floats. The boat thinks it is separate from the water, navigating its surface according to its own will. But the ocean holds the boat, provides its context, influences its every movement with currents and tides. The sailor may never fully understand. Deep beneath the waves of your daily consciousness, in the mysterious depths of your inner world, ancient patterns move like sea creatures you have never seen, but whose presence you can sometimes feel. These patterns were set in motion long before you were born, passed down through generations, like genetic codes written in emotion rather than DNA. Your dreams are letters from this underwater world, messages encoded in symbol and metaphor that your rational mind struggles to decode. The strange logic of sleep reveals connections that daylight thinking cannot make, shows you relationships between parts of yourself that seemed unrelated, offers solutions to problems you did not even know you were trying to solve. The figures who appear in your dreams are not random visitors, but aspects of your own psyche, wearing different faces. The threatening figure who chases you may represent a part of yourself you have been running from. The wise old woman who offers guidance may be the voice of your own deep knowing. The lost child who needs help may be the part of you that still carries ancient wounds. There is an intelligence in your psyche that knows how to heal, just as there is an intelligence in your body that knows how to mend a cut or fight an infection. This healing wisdom does not operate according to the timeline of your impatience or the logic of your analysis. It moves in its own rhythm, following patterns older than thought, guided by a map written in the language of the soul. The parts of yourself you are most ashamed of often hold the keys to your greatest strengths. The sensitivity you learn to hide may be the source of your ability to create beauty. The anger you were taught to suppress may contain the fuel for necessary change. The sadness you push away may be the depth that allows you to love so completely. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. You cannot integrate what you will not acknowledge. You cannot love what you are determined to hate, even if what you hate is part of yourself. Healing begins with the radical act of turning toward your pain with curiosity rather than judgment, with compassion rather than criticism. The inner critic who narrates your daily experience with running commentary about your failures and inadequacies is not your friend, despite its claims to be helping you improve. This voice learned its harsh tone from harsh voices, internalized criticism from sources that were themselves wounded and afraid. You can learn to distinguish between this learned voice and your true inner wisdom. Your true inner voice does not speak in the language of shame or comparison or harsh judgment. It speaks with gentle firmness, offering guidance without condemnation, pointing out areas for growth without attacking your fundamental worth. It is the voice that remembers your true nature even when you have forgotten it yourself. The perfectionist who lives in your head promises that if you just try hard enough, control enough variables, plan thoroughly enough, you can avoid all pain and guarantee all pleasure. But life is not a problem to be solved or a machine to be operated. It is a mystery to be lived, a dance to be danced, a song to be sung without knowing all the words. Your imperfections are not flaws in the design, but features of your uniqueness. The places where you do not fit the standard template are the places where your authentic self is showing through. The ways you are different from others are not evidence of your inadequacy, but proof of your head. Individuality. There is a quality of presence that transforms everything it touches, not by changing the external circumstances, but by bringing a different consciousness to the experience. This presence does not judge or analyze or try to fix. It simply meets what is with such complete acceptance that what is being met feels held in unconditional love. You can offer this presence to your own experience, to the parts of yourself you have been trying to change or improve or get rid of. What would happen if you met your anxiety with the same gentleness you would offer a frightened child? What would shift if you approached your sadness with the same respect you would show a grieving friend? The healing journey is not a straight line from broken to fixed, from wounded to whole. It is a spiral path that circles back through familiar territory at deeper levels, offering new opportunities to meet old patterns with greater wisdom, to respond to familiar triggers with increased consciousness, to love what was previously unloved. Every time you choose love over fear, truth over protection, presence over the endless strategies of avoidance, you create a small revolution in your inner world. These micro-revolutions accumulate over time, shifting the foundation of your experience. So gradually, you may not notice until you look back and realize how far you have traveled. The work of becoming whole is not about adding something to yourself that is missing, but about removing the obstacles to expressing what is already there. You are not broken and in need of repair. You are complete and in need of revelation. The gold of your true nature has always been present, buried beneath layers of fool's gold that seemed valuable at the time. Your sensitivity to beauty, your capacity for wonder, your ability to be moved by art or music or the simple sight of light streaming through leaves. These are not luxuries for people who have solved all their problems, but necessities for people who want to remain fully alive. Feed these aspects of yourself even when, especially when, life feels difficult. The places in your life where you feel most stuck are often the places where your greatest growth is waiting to happen. What looks like immobility may actually be a period of underground development, like the seemingly dormant time a seed spends in dark soil before it breaks through into light. Trust the timing of your own unfolding. You do not need to understand everything about yourself to love yourself. You do not need to have all your patterns figured out, all your wounds healed, all your questions answered before you are worthy of your own kindness. Love is not a reward for perfection, but the environment in which imperfection can safely reveal itself and gradually transform. The longing in your heart is not a sign that something is wrong, but evidence that something is very right. This longing is your soul's way of calling you home to yourself, of reminding you that you came here for more than just survival, that your life is meant to be an expression of something beautiful and unique and necessary. There are gifts buried in your wounds, strengths hidden in your struggles, wisdom encoded in your worst experiences, the very things you would change about your past. If you could may be the source of your greatest compassion, your deepest understanding, your most powerful ability to heal others who walk similar paths. Your story is not over. The chapter you are living now is not the final chapter. The pain you are experiencing is not permanent. The confusion you feel is not your final destination. You are in the middle of a story that is still being written, and you have more influence over how it unfolds than you realize. Sleep comes now as an invitation to release the day and all its accumulations, to let go of the roles you played and the masks you wore, to sink into the deeper currents of your being, where healing happens not through effort, but through surrender. In dreams, your psyche will continue the work that consciousness began, weaving new patterns from old materials, creating new possibilities from ancient themes. the night holds you with infinite tenderness, the same force that holds the stars in their courses and the planets in their orbits, the same intelligence that guides the seasons in their cycles and the tides in their rhythm. You are not separate from this vast order, but part of it, held and guided by the same love that moves the sun and other stars. As consciousness softens at the edges and the boundary between inner and outer worlds grows thin, you can feel the presence that has always been with you, closer than your breath, more intimate than your thoughts, more constant than your heartbeat. This presence is not separate from you, but is your deepest self, the part of you that was never born and will never die. This space of almost sleep, you can sense the vastness that lies beneath the surface of your daily awareness, the oceanic depths of your own being that contain all possibilities, all potentials, all the versions of yourself you have been and might yet become. You are so much more than you know, so much deeper than you have imagined, so much more whole than you have believed. The great Swiss psychiatrist who spent his life mapping the territories of the human psyche once observed that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Tonight, in the borderland between sleeping and waking, between knowing and unknowing, you begin the sacred work of bringing light to the hidden places, of making friends with the parts of yourself you have kept in exile. This process is not about perfect understanding or complete control. It is about relationship, about learning to be present with all aspects of your inner world with the same curiosity and compassion you would offer a dear friend. The goal is not to eliminate your darkness, but to develop a conscious relationship with it, to integrate what has been split off, to love what has been unloved. The shadow you cast in the bright light of day is not your enemy, but your teacher, showing you the places where your light is blocked, the aspects of yourself you have denied or disowned or forgotten, what you see in others that triggers your strongest reactions, both positive and negative, often reflects qualities in yourself that are seeking recognition and integration. The child who lives in the secret chambers of your heart carries both your wounds and your wonder, both your trauma and your magic. This inner child remembers what it was like to see the world with fresh eyes, to believe in possibility, to love without reservation. But this child also carries the memory of the first time the world felt unsafe, the first betrayal of trust, the first lesson in hiding authentic feelings to avoid rejection or harm. Healing happens when the adult you are now can offer the child you were then what was missing: the safety to feel, the permission to be authentic, the unconditional love that says you are worthy of care exactly as you are. This is not about changing the past, but about changing the present relationship with your past. The dreams that visit you in the hours before dawn carry messages from the deepest layers of your psyche, offering guidance that cannot be accessed through rational thought alone. These nocturnal teachings speak in the ancient language of symbol and metaphor, showing you connections and possibilities that daylight consciousness cannot perceive. In dreams, you can dialogue with different aspects of yourself, receive wisdom from inner figures who represent various facets of your total personality, and explore creative solutions to problems that have seemed insurmountable in waking life. The strange logic of the dreaming mind often reveals truths that the analytical mind, with all its careful categories and distinctions, cannot grasp. The recurring dreams that visit you again and again are particularly important messengers, carrying themes and lessons that your psyche is trying to integrate. These repetitive nocturnal stories will continue until their message is received and their wisdom is applied in your waking life. They are not torments, but teachings, not punishments, but persistent invitations to growth. Your nightmares, too, serve a purpose in the ecology of your inner world. They bring to the surface fears and anxieties that need attention, show you in dramatic form the consequences of remaining unconscious to certain patterns, and provide opportunities to develop courage and resourcefulness in the face of inner demons. Even your most frightening dreams are ultimately in service of your wholeness. The process of individuation, becoming who you truly are beneath all the roles and expectations and conditioning, is not a luxury for people who have solved all their practical problems. It is a necessity for anyone who wants to live with authenticity and meaning. This process cannot be rushed or forced, but unfolds in its own timing according to the deeper wisdom of the psyche. You are not required to understand this process intellectually or to manage it consciously. You are only asked to remain open to it, to cooperate with it, to trust that the same intelligence that grows a tiny seed into a mighty tree knows how to guide your own growth and transformation. Your job is not to control the process, but to create conditions that allow it to unfold naturally. The conditions that support inner growth are surprisingly simple: attention, acceptance, and patience. Attention means being present with your experience without immediately trying to change it. Acceptance means meeting what arises in your inner world with curiosity rather than judgment. Patience means trusting the timing of your own unfolding without forcing premature conclusions. These qualities cannot be manufactured through effort or achieved through will. They arise naturally when you stop fighting your experience and start learning from it. When you stop trying to be someone other than who you are and start exploring who you actually are beneath all the stories and strategies and protective mechanisms. The great work of a lifetime is not to become perfect, but to become real. Not to eliminate all your flaws, but to develop a conscious relationship with them. Not to transcend your humanity, but to embrace it fully. This work is done not through grand gestures, but through small, daily choices to show up authentically in your own life. Every moment offers an opportunity to practice this authenticity, to choose presence over performance, to respond from your truth rather than from your conditioning. These micro practices accumulate over time, creating gradual but profound shifts in how you relate to yourself and others, how you move through the world, how you make meaning from your experience. The path of awakening is not about reaching some final destination where all problems are solved and all questions are answered. It is about learning to be present with the journey itself, to find meaning in the process rather than postponing fulfillment until some imagined future state of completion. The goal is not to arrive somewhere else, but to be fully here, now, as you are. This presence is not a spiritual achievement or a psychological technique, but your natural state, temporarily obscured by the habits of mind that keep you focused on past regrets or future anxieties. When these mental patterns quiet down, what remains is the simple fact of your existence, vibrant and immediate and whole. In this state of presence, you discover that you do not need to be different to be worthy of love. Do not need to achieve anything to justify your existence. Do not need to understand everything to be at peace. You are already enough, already whole, already home. This is not a philosophical concept, but a lived reality, available in every moment when you stop trying to be somewhere else and start being where you are. The night that surrounds you now is not empty darkness, but pregnant potential. Not the absence of light, but the womb from which light is born. In this fertile darkness, new possibilities are taking shape, new patterns are being woven, new chapters of your story are being written by the deeper intelligence that knows your true name and remembers your original purpose. As sleep draws closer, you can feel this intelligence stirring in your depths, preparing to continue its work in the realm of dreams, where the usual rules of logic do not apply, and the impossible becomes possible. In sleep, your psyche will sort and sift the experiences of the day, filing away what is useful, composing what is needed, creating what has never existed before. Trust this process, even though you cannot control it or fully understand it. Trust that the same force that beats your heart and breathes your breath knows how to heal your wounds and integrate your wholeness. Trust that you are being carried by currents larger than your conscious will, guided by wisdom deeper than your rational mind, loved by a love that requires nothing of you but your willingness to receive it. You are not alone in this journey, though it may sometimes feel solitary. Every person who has ever looked deeply into their own heart has walked some version of this path. Every soul who has ever questioned their assumptions, challenged their conditioning, or sought to live more authentically has been your companion on this road, even if you have never met them in the flesh. The work you do on yourself benefits not only you, but everyone whose life you touch. Every pattern you interrupt in yourself breaks a chain that has been passed down through generations. Every wound you heal in yourself creates space for others to heal similar wounds. Every step you take toward wholeness makes it easier for others to take their own steps toward authenticity. This is the great secret that the wounded healers throughout history have always known, that our deepest pain can become our greatest gift, that our most difficult experiences can become the source of our ability to help others, that what we thought would destroy us can actually become the foundation of our strength and wisdom and compassion. You do not need to wait until you are completely healed to begin offering your gifts to the world. You do not need to have all your answers before you can help others with their questions. Your willingness to be vulnerable about your struggles gives others permission to be honest about theirs. Your courage to face your own darkness helps illuminate the path for others who are walking through their own dark nights. The healing circle expands in ripples that extend far beyond what you can see or measure. Every moment of genuine presence you offer, every act of authentic kindness you express, every choice you make to respond with love rather than fear sends waves through the collective unconscious, contributing to the healing of patterns that extend far beyond your individual psyche. This is why your inner work matters so much, why your commitment to becoming conscious is not selfish, but deeply generous. You are not just healing yourself, but participating in the healing of the world. Not just awakening yourself, but contributing to the awakening of human consciousness itself. The dawn that will come in a few hours will bring with it new opportunities to practice what you have remembered in this night passage, new chances to bring the wisdom of your depths into the activities of your days, new possibilities to express your authentic self in the midst of a world that often rewards conformity over creativity, performance over presence. But for now, in these last moments before sleep, claims you completely. You can rest in the deep, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, that your life is unfolding exactly as it needs to unfold, that the struggles and confusions and questions that seem so urgent in daylight are all part of a larger pattern that serves your ultimate becoming. You are loved beyond measure by a love that knows no conditions, requires no improvements, demands no performances. This love is not something you need to earn, but something you need to remember, not something outside yourself, but the very essence of what you are, not something that may come to you if you are worthy, but something that is always already here, waiting for you to stop running long enough to feel its eternal presence. Sleep now, beloved soul. Let the night carry you home to yourself. Let dreams be your teacher, darkness your friend, and rest your medicine. Tomorrow will bring what it will bring, but tonight you are held in the arms of infinite tenderness, surrounded by love, supported by grace, and guided by the deepest wisdom of your own magnificent being. The journey continues in sleep, in dreams, in the mysterious processes that happen when consciousness softens and the deeper intelligence takes over. Trust this intelligence. Trust this process. Trust that you are being carried home to yourself by currents of love that flow through every moment, every breath, every heartbeat of your beautiful, unfinished, perfectly imperfect human life. Rest now. Rest completely. Let the night do its healing work. Let your dreams weave new patterns from old threads. Let your soul remember what your mind has forgotten. Let yourself be loved as you have always been loved, held as you have always been held, guided as you have always been guided by the inexhaustible tenderness at the heart of all existence. The night voyage is complete when you finally arrive where you started and know the place for the first time. You are home. You have always been home. Welcome back to yourself, traveler. Welcome back to the truth of who you are. Welcome back to love. The deepest hours of night, when the veil between worlds grows gossamer thin, you discover that the journey you thought you were taking outward has actually been leading you inward all along. Every step you believed was carrying you away from yourself was secretly guiding you closer to your center. Every detour you cursed as lost time was actually a necessary spiral in the labyrinth that leads to your own heart. The ancient mystics knew what modern psychology is rediscovering, that the path to wholeness cannot be walked in straight lines. It requires wandering through valleys of confusion, climbing mountains of resistance, crossing rivers of tears you did not know you needed to cry. Each apparent wrong turn reveals itself in retrospect as the only way to arrive at where you needed to be. You have been your own faithful companion on this journey, even when you felt most alone. The part of you that has witnessed every experience, every emotion, every thought, without being diminished by any of them, this eternal observer has been your constant guide, your unwavering support, your most reliable friend. It has never left you, even in your darkest moments, even when you could not sense its presence. This witnessing consciousness is not something you possess, but something you are. It is not a faculty you developed, but your essential nature, temporarily forgotten under layers of identification with thoughts, with emotions, roles, and stories. When these temporary identities fall away in the gentle dissolution of approaching sleep, what remains is this pure awareness, this simple presence that needs nothing and lacks nothing. In this state of natural being, you realize that all you're seeking has been the movement of what is already found, trying to remember itself. All your longing has been wholeness, pretending to be fragmented so it could experience the joy of coming back together. All your pain has been love disguised as separation, so it could know itself as the force that heals all wounds. The breath that moves through you now carries the same life force that animates every living thing on this planet. You are not separate from the tree outside your window, from the stars wheeling overhead, from the sleeping earth that holds you in its embrace. You are part of one magnificent organism, one interconnected web of being, temporarily experiencing itself through the particular lens of your individual awareness. This interconnection is not a philosophical concept, but a felt reality available to you whenever you stop defending the illusion of your separateness. In deep relaxation, in moments of natural beauty, in experiences of genuine love, the boundaries of the isolated self become transparent, and you remember your true identity as part of the whole. Your individual healing contributes to the healing of this whole in ways that ripple far beyond what your rational mind can comprehend. Every moment of peace you find in yourself adds to the peace available to all beings. Every pattern you break in your own psyche weakens that pattern in the collective unconscious. Every step you take toward love makes it easier for love to express itself everywhere. This is why your personal work matters so profoundly, why your commitment to consciousness is not a luxury, but a necessity, why your willingness to face your own shadows serves not just yourself, but all of life. You are not just healing your own wounds, but participating in the healing of the ancient wounds that divide humanity from itself and from the natural world. The dreams that will visit you tonight carry messages not just from your personal unconscious, but from these deeper layers of collective wisdom. In sleep, you gain access to the accumulated knowledge of your species, the archetypal patterns that have guided human development for millennia, the timeless stories that contain the blueprints for transformation and renewal. Sometimes these dreams will speak to you in personal symbols drawn from your own experience. Other times, they will present you with universal images that connect you to the great themes of human existence, birth and death, journey and return, loss and redemption, fall and resurrection. Both types of dreams serve the same purpose: to help you remember who you are beneath all the temporary costumes you wear in waking life. The wise figures who appear in your dreams, the old woman with knowing eyes, the mysterious teacher with cryptic advice, the child with pure vision, are all aspects of your own deep wisdom, wearing different faces. They represent the parts of yourself that have access to knowledge your everyday consciousness cannot reach, the inner council of advisors that meets while your rational mind sleeps. Learning to work with your dreams is like learning to read a sacred text written in a language you once knew but have forgotten. The more attention you pay to these nocturnal messages, the more fluent you become in the symbolic language of the psyche. Over time, you begin to recognize the recurring themes, the persistent symbols, the consistent guidance that emerges from the depths of your own being. But you do not need to understand every dream or analyze every symbol to benefit from this nightly wisdom. Sometimes the healing happens simply in the experiencing, in allowing yourself to be carried by the strange logic of the dream world, in surrendering to narratives that make no rational sense but somehow feel profoundly meaningful. Your psyche knows how to heal itself, just as your body knows how to heal a cut or fight an infection. The same intelligence that orchestrates the complex chemical processes that keep you alive also knows how to integrate traumatic experiences, resolve internal conflicts, and restore psychological balance. Your job is not to manage this process, but to create conditions that allow it to unfold naturally. These conditions include rest, both physical and mental. They include spaces of silence where the constant chatter of the thinking mind can settle and the deeper voices can be heard. They include practices that help you drop below the surface level of your experience into the depths where real transformation happens. They also include compassion for yourself as you navigate this process, understanding that healing does not follow a linear timeline or conform to external expectations. Some days you will feel like you are making great progress. Other days it may seem like you are moving backward. Both experiences are part of the natural rhythm of growth and integration. The spiral nature of healing means you will encounter the same themes, the same patterns, the same wounds multiple times, but each encounter offers an opportunity to relate to them from a deeper level of consciousness. What triggered intense reactivity last year may evoke only mild concern this year. What seemed impossible to forgive last month may feel ready for release this month. Trust this organic timing, even when it does not match your preferences or meet your expectations. Your psyche has its own seasons, its own cycles of dormancy and growth, its own wisdom about when conditions are right for particular breakthroughs to occur. Forcing the process rarely accelerates it and often creates additional complications that must later be unwound. The great depth psychologist once observed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This becoming is not project to be completed, but a continuous unfolding, not a destination to be reached, but a quality of presence to be cultivated, not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived ever more fully. You do not become who you truly are by adding new qualities to yourself, but by removing the obstacles to expressing the qualities that have always been there. You do not achieve authenticity through effort, but through the gradual relaxation of the efforts you have been making to be someone other than who you are. This relaxation begins with the recognition that you are already acceptable exactly as you are, that your worth is not contingent on your performance or your achievements or your ability to meet other people's expectations. You are valuable simply because you exist, worthy of love simply because you are alive, deserving of respect simply because you are conscious. This recognition is not something you can think your way into, but something you must allow yourself to feel. It emerges when you stop arguing with reality. Stop insisting that you should be different than you are. Stop postponing self-acceptance until you meet some arbitrary standard of improvement or perfection. The parts of yourself you have been trying to change or hide or fix are often the very parts that contain your greatest gifts. Your sensitivity may be the source of your artistic ability. Your intensity may be the fuel for your passion for justice. Your depth may be what allows you to offer genuine comfort to others who are suffering. What if the things you consider your weaknesses are actually your strengths in disguise? What if the very experiences that have caused you the most pain have also given you the qualities that make you most valuable to the world? What if your wounds are not obstacles to your purpose, but the source of your unique contribution? This perspective does not minimize the reality of suffering or suggest that pain is always meaningful. It simply acknowledges that consciousness has the remarkable ability to transform even the most difficult experiences into sources of wisdom, compassion, and strength. This transformation is not automatic, but it becomes possible when you stop being a victim of your experience and start being an artist with it. The canvas of your life may contain dark colors and harsh strokes that you did not choose and would not wish on anyone else. But you still have the ability to decide what kind of painting you create with these materials, what story you tell with these experiences, what meaning you make from this raw material of your existence. This is not about positive thinking or denial of difficult realities. It is about recognizing your creative power in relationship to whatever circumstances you face. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can always influence how you respond to what happens, how you interpret what happens, how you integrate what happens into the larger narrative of your becoming. The story you tell yourself about your life is not just a reflection of what has happened, but a creative force that shapes what will happen. If you see yourself as fundamentally flawed, you will unconsciously create evidence to support that view. If you recognize yourself as fundamentally whole, you will begin to make choices that express and reveal that wholeness. This shift in self-perception is not a matter of convincing yourself of something that is not true, but of recognizing something that has always been true, but has been obscured by layers of conditioning and misunderstanding. Your wholeness is not something you need to achieve, but something you need to remember, not something you need to create, but something you need to uncover. The process of uncovering requires the same kind of patience and persistence that an archaeologist brings to an excavation site. You carefully brush away the accumulated debris of years of self-doubt and self-criticism. You gently remove the layers of other people's judgments and expectations that have buried your authentic self. You slowly reveal the treasures that have been there all along, waiting to be rediscovered. Sometimes this archaeological work of self-discovery reveals artifacts that surprise you, talents you did not know you possessed, dreams you had forgotten you once cherished, aspects of your personality that were driven underground by early experiences of criticism or rejection. These rediscoveries can feel both exciting and slightly disorienting, like meeting a long-lost friend who is both familiar and mysteriously changed. Other times, the excavation uncovers more difficult material, old hurts that still ache when exposed to light, patterns of protection that once served you but now limit you, parts of yourself that carry shame or anger or grief from long ago. These discoveries require even more patience and gentleness, like caring for ancient artifacts that are precious but fragile. The goal is not to keep only the treasures and discard the difficult material, but to integrate all of it into a more complete and honest understanding of who you are, your shadows and your light, your wounds and your gifts, your immaturities and your wisdom. All of these are part of the complex tapestry of your humanity. Integration does not mean that you like all parts of yourself equally, or that you express all aspects of your nature in every situation. It means that you acknowledge all parts of yourself with awareness and compassion, that you no longer waste energy trying to eliminate aspects of your humanity that are actually indestructible, that you learn to work consciously with your full range of qualities rather than being unconsciously driven by the parts you refuse to acknowledge. This conscious relationship with your totality is what the depth psychologists call individuation, the process of becoming an individual in the truest sense, not by separating yourself from others, but by becoming authentically yourself in relationship with others. This process cannot be rushed or forced, but unfolds naturally when you create the right conditions and then trust the innate wisdom of your psyche to guide the journey. The right conditions include honesty about your experience without judgment about what you find. They include curiosity about your inner world without attachment to particular outcomes. They include willingness to feel what you have been avoiding without insisting that feeling it will make it go away. They include commitment to the process without controlling exactly how it unfolds. Most importantly, they include a fundamental friendliness toward yourself, a basic kindness that remains constant regardless of what you discover or how you behave or what you fail to accomplish. This self-friendship is not based on your achievements or your potential, but on the simple recognition that you deserve to be treated with respect by the person who knows you best, yourself. This quality of inner friendship transforms everything about your inner experience. Instead of being at war with yourself, you become an ally to yourself. Instead of being your own harshest critic, you become your own most loyal supporter. Instead of abandoning yourself, when things get difficult, you learn to show up for yourself with even greater presence and care. This does not mean becoming indulgent or permissive with yourself any more than good friendship means never offering honest feedback to a friend. It means approaching yourself with the same combination of acceptance and accountability that you would offer to someone you truly care about, holding space for imperfection while encouraging growth, offering comfort in times of struggle while not enabling destructive patterns. The voice of this inner friend is distinctly different from both the harsh critic that may dominate your self-talk and the permissive enabler that might excuse any behavior. The inner friend speaks with gentle honesty, offering guidance without condemnation, pointing out areas for growth without attacking your fundamental worth, celebrating your successes without inflating your ego. Learning to recognize and cultivate this voice is one of the most important skills you can develop in your journey toward wholeness. This voice is not something you need to create, but something you need to remember, not a role you need to learn to play, but a relationship you need to learn to trust. It is the voice of your deepest wisdom, your truest knowing, your most loving awareness. As you settle more deeply into the approaching embrace of sleep, you can feel this loving awareness surrounding you, holding you, protecting you as you prepare to venture into the deeper realms of consciousness, where healing and integration continue their ancient work. You are safe to let go, safe to surrender, safe to trust that you will be guided and guarded through whatever experiences await you in the realm of dreams. The night sky above you contains more stars than you can count, each one a sun to other worlds, each one a reminder of the vastness that cradles your small but precious life. You are part of this cosmic story, this grand unfolding of consciousness exploring itself through countless forms, countless perspectives, countless individual journeys of awakening and return. Your particular journey matters in ways that extend far beyond your ability to measure or comprehend. Your willingness to face your shadows contributes to the healing of the collective shadow. Your commitment to love, despite your fears, strengthens the field of love that surrounds all beings. Your choice to remain open despite disappointment helps keep the channels of hope and possibility open for everyone. You do not need to be perfect to make this contribution. You do not need to be completely healed to be a healing presence. You do not need to have all the answers to help others find their way. Your very willingness to keep growing, keep learning, keep opening your heart, despite all the reasons to close it, is a gift to the world that cannot be measured, but can certainly be felt. The ripples of your inner work extend through networks of connection that are largely invisible, but profoundly real. Every moment of peace you find in yourself makes peace more available to everyone you encounter. Every fear you transform into love weakens the power of fear in the collective unconscious. Every step you take toward authenticity makes it easier for others to risk being real. This is the great secret that wisdom traditions have always known, that your individual liberation and the liberation of all beings are not separate projects, but different facets of the same movement toward wholeness. You cannot heal yourself without contributing to the healing of the world. You cannot awaken yourself without adding to the awakening of consciousness itself. Sleep now with the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing your life matters, your growth matters, your healing matters in ways that ripple out through time and space to touch lives you will never know about, in ways you will never see, but that are nonetheless real and significant and sacred. Let yourself be held by the infinite tenderness that surrounds all life, the same love that calls the flowers to bloom, and the birds to sing, and the stars to shine in their appointed places. You are part of this cosmic love story, this grand adventure of consciousness coming to know itself through the beautiful, complex, perfectly imperfect experience of being human. Rest now in the certainty that you are loved beyond measure, held beyond doubt, and guided beyond fear by the deepest intelligence of life itself. Tomorrow will bring new opportunities to practice what you have learned tonight, new chances to express the love you have remembered, new possibilities to live from the truth you have touched in these quiet hours. But tonight belongs to rest, to restoration, to the mysterious processes that happen when the ego steps aside and lets the deeper self take over. Trust these processes. Trust this darkness. Trust this silence. Trust this journey home to yourself that continues even as consciousness fades and sleep claims you completely. You are safe. You are loved. You are whole. You are home.